Next stop, Erica's patch notes.
How about no? Space Wolves first. Erica Patch second.
Women. Am I right, 16?
Confirmed. She is female.
She is. Hey there, welcome. My name is Jay Ashborne, and today we're going to be discussing the patch notes released with the Space Wolves release and the changes they have propagated to Classic. I haven't really made up my mind if we're going to be discussing Skirmish on this channel or if I have any interest in it. However, if you've caught me in Discord, Reddit, or chat, you can probably guess my opinion of the format. However, as this is mainly a Classic channel, we will be going over these buffs as they do impact Classic, so we're going to work through what the cards were, how the changes were made, and how those changes are going to affect the class and the card going forward. So starting off strong with the Little Sister debuff from the recent buff. It's like they took it to her and then gave it away all at the same time. The health buff has been rolled back from 3 to 2. She now has a new faith ability. Her description now reads, 3 faith, gain 1 health. Pray, deploy Little Sister. Alright, so this was recently buffed about 2 weeks ago. Her health was at 3, and she originally had the clone, just pray, make a copy. Now they've removed her 3rd health and has changed it back to 2, and it is now 3 faith, gain plus 1 health. Alright, so what's this card looking like these days? I think, in my opinion, you are still very eager for the low-cost cards and cards that gain faith at a low cost. However, this card got hit really hard. The moments when you're wanting to play this card, you will not have 3 faith. You want to be playing this on your initial turn 1. Sometimes you'll be saving it till your 2E turn. Sometimes you'll be saving this to your 3E turn. Like you might play Gunner Sister on 2E, and then on 3E you might play Little Sister plus Prayer, to give it the additional buff so it just can't be hit. Or if you're going second, you might play Little Sister followed by give it a shield and gain a faith. So the moments when you play this card, it's going to have 2 health, the moments when you want it. When you draw this card in the late game, it doesn't matter if it comes into play with 3 health, it's still going to die. Unless you have a Vanguard unit in front of it. This hurts. This card was seeing a lot of play and was possibly too strong. It was very hard to deal with in Classic. The games where players got 2 Little Sisters on 2E and were just like, Novitate, pass, those turns sucked. A lot of those game states felt completely non-winnable for the other class. I have mentioned it here on the channel before. I have conceded to it before because I think it was that strong. So was this debuff needed? Probably. Did they go a bit overboard? Probably, question mark. Like, 3 faith is a huge ask. Look at other cards that have 3 faith effects. So, Blade of Faith, I believe, is either 3 or 4, so it's pretty similar, and it does an additional 3 damage another time. That's a huge effect. Compare that to Seraphim, which gets +1 range, +1 health. Those are other 3 faiths. For just 1 health, you would think that the faith requirement would be a little bit less. Maybe 1, maybe 2. I think would probably be fair. The 3 faith hit feels really harsh. Now in Skirmish, you probably won't notice this as much. This card may still be very playable in Skirmish. I don't play that format, so I do not know. But in Classic, this hurts. This is I wouldn't go as far to say this card's 100% dead, because like I said, as a sister player, you are really thirsty for those low drop slots to try and get your faith up quickly. But ouch, man. Talk about a rough one. She was like, I'm OP, and then 2 weeks later, I'm in the trash can. So, yikes. We'll have to explore a bit and see if this is still good or relevant and how things play out with it. I've got a couple lists that I'm trying to work with. exploring some new options because the Sisters game plan has definitely changed. Alright. Next on our list, we have Sacred Rose Sister. Increased faith requirements by 1. So that is both to the initial buff and to the health buff. So the description now reads, or used to read, we'll start with it used to read. It used to read 1 faith. It was a 1-2 melee / ranged with 3 health. And then prayer, get a shield. It had a mechanic that read 1 faith, get +1 melee ranged, and then 3 faith, gain +1 health. That's now been changed from 1 to 2 and from 3 to 4. So 2 faith, gain +1 melee range, becomes a 2-3, and at 4 faith, gets +1 health, becomes a 3-3 or 3-4 with 4 health. Pray, gain a shield. This sucks pretty hard. Again, this really boils down to you are faith starved in the early game and you want to be having units that can trade as well as units that are able to pray and get their own faith up. A side note on this is this actually affects Sacred Rose. So we're all very familiar with Sacred Rose being probably one of the best cards in the Sisters faction. It's an epic that puts 2 Sacred Rose Sister into play if you have 3 or more faith, gain flank. This incidentally affects that too. These sisters used to come in as 2 3s with 4 health at 3 faith and had flank. Now they come into play if you have 3 faith for flank. They come into play as 2 3s with 3 health. So they're missing a health on the turn 4 play when you would like to be playing this. It kind of affects that card as well. So not only did Sacred Rose Sister get nerfed, it's kind of like Sacred Rose got nerfed too. This also goes and affects Rhino as well. Rhino pumps out Sacred Rose Sister. So yeah, now your sisters that are coming off of Rhino will be less powerful if you don't have at least 2 faith. This hurts. It is definitely a detriment. It's not something you feel comfortable with quite. I think that the 4 faith for the +1 health is a fine change, but the 2 faith for the additional melee and ranged is painful. It's gonna suck to not have additional faith. You used to be able to do cool tricks, like if you were going second, you used to be able to gain a faith and then play this as a 2-3 melee ranged with 3 health, and then, pray to give it 4 health with Erica. So now that's looking like a turn 3 play instead of a turn 2 play. So pretty detrimental. I think you will still have to play this because you are starved for slots and you need those low-costed cards. Unless you're playing a Penance variant or something. However, in like the Erica builds, not the more involved builds, you are going to be unpleasantly disappointed with this card. It is not nearly as good as it was. Next up on the list, we have probably the most notable change outside of Erica's talent patch. Miraculous Feat. Increased faith requirement by 3. So this used to be 3 faith, gain invulnerable to any unit for a turn. 3 faith until your next turn. Now it is doubled. It is up to 6 faith requirement. This effect was really powerful. Almost every deck was running this as a 2 of. 6 faith seems a bit steep, to the point of where I've cut it from my lists, because I don't think this card is going to see much play at that. In Skirmish, this card's probably still fine. In Classic, this card feels dead in your hand 95% of the time. I was having moments where I felt it was dead in my hand at 3 faith on the old patch. And now with this new patch, I look at it, I'm like, ugh, the turns where I want this, it's just... I can't see myself having a reason to run this. I have no doubt this is still a super powerful effect. If you're able to get to that faith requirement, this will still be, the effect you're looking for. But man, it is no longer the, I need to get to 6 faith, to cast whatever, or 5 faith to do this, or you're praying and miraculous feeding yourself to get 1 additional faith so you can move up in the realm, but I don't see this seeing a lot of play. And then the biggest hit, Fury of the Righteous, Erica's talent. Increased the faith requirements by 1 and additional 2. The old talent used to read, Ephemeral, deal 1 damage. If you had 3 faith, it would deal an additional 2, so 3 damage total. And then if you had 7 faith, it would stun whatever unit you hit. Now, those breakpoints, the 3 and 7, have been changed to 4 and 9. Yikes. The 9 faith stun, probably well deserved. At 7, it was very powerful, insanely powerful, being able to lock down units or warlords that would consistently target you, such as Titus face decks or any of the other extremely aggressive archetypes. I think the biggest impact from this is not the 9 faith stun. I think 8 faith probably would have been fair. 9 faith seems a little overboard, and my reasoning, but I think it's okay. The reasoning why I think it is okay is because in the games where you are getting to 7 faith, you more than likely can stop applying pressure or not apply pressure for a turn to use your Sacred Rose Sisters to pray and gain an additional 2 faith. The reason a lot of people, I would generally stop praying at 8 faith unless I had a reason to gain shields to apply pressure to keep my troops or something. But in the games where you were getting to 7 faith, it's more than likely the possibility you could have got to 9 as well. The games where you're not getting to 5 is the games where you're never going to see 9. A lot of games that this didn't come into play with just generally you were aggroed out of the game before you got a chance. So I don't know, if you were if a enemy faction was applying so much pressure that you thought you weren't going to get to 7, you probably aren't going to be getting to 9 either. It's like the games where you did get to stun something and lock something down are the games where gaining faith were not a problem. So I don't think the stun is the big change. The big change for me is this smaller yet very much impactful requires an additional faith to deal 2 more damage. A lot of times you were casting things like, if you didn't have Sacred Rose, Seraphim, or prayer, or not prayer, but Rhino on 4, you were a lot of times casting a 2-drop and then talenting because you had 3 faith to ping a unit off the board. Now you have to have an additional faith. She lost a lot of board control with this. Your early game is going to be very hard, not to mention you lost probably your best 1-drop, you lost one of your best 2-drops, and now your talent is affected as well. Not to mention your 4E turn is compromised as well with Rhino and Sacred Rose. This is a rough Sisters patch. Erica went from an A+ tier Warlord. I think she got hit as hard to where she's B-, maybe C+. It's rough. To my speculation, I believe that if you are playing Sisters in this patch, you are probably playing either the Penance variant, or you might play for Erica control, maybe Aveline mid-ranger control. Judith's still in the trash can. Sorry, Judith. But yeah, this mid-game Sisters strat, very dead. I would not play the list I ran last season. I have ran it once or twice since I've edited the video from yesterday. It has been extremely hard to perform nearly even 55% of what I did last season. It has been a rough start. I'm going to have to make changes, experiment with cards, find some new options, and we're going to do that together, but it's not, it is not looking hot. we'll have to go through it and see what we can't find out. But yeah, that's the patch breakdown. I think you are going to be getting aggroed out of games a lot more frequently. Fighting for board control is going to be hard, and you are not nearly going to have that mid-game pressure that Sisters had last patch. So probably overall, Sisters A-tier faction was at 50.8% win rate on the last meta report. I would expect it to drop to like 49. Not looking pretty. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. We will slam some ladder tomorrow and see what we can't do. And hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. Later.
That was really bad.